Hello you guys, welcome back to the vlog. I don't know if this will be more of like just a reading vlog or a general bookish vlog. I'm not really sure. It kind of depends on what we get up to this week and how busy we are, all the things that we can do outside of the work day and the work week. But I'm excited to, at minimum, just talk about books, read some books, maybe go do some bookish things together. I think it'll be fun. I feel like in the month of March in general, I have gotten so much more into reading than I have been in all of the rest of 2026. For some reason, something about 2026, I just like could not get myself to read, especially at the beginning of the year. Felt like I've been in a slump for quite a while, and this month in particular, I feel like I've just been reading a lot. Right now, I've picked up Not Quite Dead Yet by Holly Jackson, and I forget how much I love her books, and I'm so excited to be reading another one. So I'm on my lunch break right now, and I want to take some time to read. I've also been listening to Dear Debbie by Frida McFadden, and that one's been pretty good. I don't have much more time left on it, so I could probably finish that sometime within the next day or so, especially with my commutes to the office. They're pretty long commutes, and so I feel like between one or two of those drives, I could probably finish the book. Either way, I just wanted to start the vlog, say hello. It's kind of a gloomy day today. It's supposed to be one of the colder days this week, and the wind is coming now, so I'm sorry. So I think maybe we'll go inside to read, but I'm gonna start my reading vlog and reading lunch break with reading some more of Not Quite Dead Yet. I'm about 15% away, 16% of the way through, which means I'm on chapter 5 and about to be on chapter 6, which is day 1 of what's going on with our character. Essentially what this book is about is our main character. Her name is Jet, and she has recently been hit in the head. She doesn't know why or who attacked her. She comes to out of a 2-day coma, so very short-lived, but finds out that she basically has 7 days to live, and she wants to take those 7 days to figure out who tried to kill her. It's been very interesting. I also just love Holly Jackson's writing and her books. They're just fantastic to me, so I'm excited to get more into it. Let's go inside where it's nice and cozy, and let's go read during our lunch break. Good morning, you guys. It's the next day and I am already in my car. I'm about to head out for work. I just wanted to update you that I did not read nearly as much as I thought I was going to yesterday. My lunch break ended up short, and then I had a bunch of stuff to do after work, and also wanted to make sure I got a workout in, and I just haven't really done a lot of reading. But right now, I think I'm going to listen to my audiobook, which is Dear Debbie by Frida McFadden. I think like 30% of the way through the book. Yeah, 36%. I'm pretty far in. I feel like this will be a really nice way for me to just like drive in and back home, like to the office and back home from the office. I have almost 5 hours left of listening time, but I typically listen on 2 times speed, so like 2.5 hours, and right now it's only going to take me 38 minutes to get to the office, which that's pretty short, but on the way back it always takes me an hour, if not a little bit more, so I think it'll be the perfect thing to listen to. I'm gonna head off. I'm gonna go right now to the office and listen to a few more chapters. The nice thing about Dear Debbie too is that the chapters are so short, like each one is maybe like 5 minutes, so basically anywhere that I go when I'm listening to the audiobook, I can sit for 20 seconds and then that chapter is done, and I can end at like a clean spot. And that just like, it's just something in my brain. Like I hate, especially with an audiobook, with regular books I can do it a little bit more, but I hate stopping somewhere and then having to wait because your audiobook has time, or wanting to put my headphones in, because if I leave and then come back, I probably won't remember exactly what the context was in that particular spot, and it's just like harder to scrub through than on a book where you can kind of like read around it for a sec and then remember what was happening. So anyway, long story short, I really like this book so far, which is crazy because I feel like the last Frida McFadden books that I've read, like I want to say like the last 5 of them, just haven't felt like they were hitting. And I don't know if it's that I'm listening to it as an audiobook. I do think that the audiobook readers, like the voice actors, are pretty good in this one, and it just goes by a lot faster, so maybe I'm just enjoying it more, but I'm liking it so far. So let's head off, let's go to the office, and let's read our book. It's after work now. I'm back home. I was listening to my audiobook for a piece of today, like basically mostly in the morning when I didn't have meetings and I was just doing like computer work. And then I also listened to it a little bit on the way to work and a little bit on the way back from work. Sometimes, especially when I'm coming back from work, like in the mornings, I feel like I'm in like a really good mood, or, you know, I just like, I'm a little peppier, but sometimes on the way back home from work, I kind of just need to like dissociate. So the first like 20 or 30 minutes of my drive home will just be in silence. And then I will get to a point where I'm like, okay, I can turn on the audiobook now and I can actually focus a little bit, because it's not that anyone did anything or that I had a bad day, but just after conversing with a lot of people or like just having a longer day, I sometimes just need that time to dissociate. So anyway, I now have about 3 hours left of the book, which I started with about 5 hours. So that means I've probably listened to 2 hours technically, but actual listening time was probably about an hour. I'm on chapter 43 of this book, and I think I do want to listen to this some more, but I also really want to get to my other book, which is the Holly Jackson book. So I think what I'm going to do right now is just take off my makeup, get into some comfier clothes. It's very gloomy. It's starting to rain a little bit, and I think I want to start to read some of the Holly Jackson book. Let me actually get my Kindle out of my bag. I don't remember where I left off last night because I didn't read much before I went to bed, but I'm 20% of the way through the book, so I have like 8 hours to read. There's no chance that I finish this today, unfortunately, but I am on chapter 7, and I really wanted to try to finish today so that I could say cleanly that I finished this book at the end of March, but I think this is mostly going to be an April book after all, so it is what it is. That's okay. Okay, I want to get into some comfy clothes and I want to start reading. Like I said, I'm only on chapter 7. And like I said, I don't think that there's a way for me to actually finish this book by end of day today because I would end up staying up until like midnight. But I want to read as much as I possibly can regardless. I do feel like I am a good percentage of the way through the Frida McFadden book, and I can kind of tell you guys about that one at minimum. It's so crazy because when I was reading it just earlier, like on my way home, something insane happened, like kind of out of left field. There's a character, our main character, and she basically has a whole family, her husband and 2 daughters, and something happens with her daughter that I can't really say because I'm now 60% of the way through the book, so I don't want to like spoil anything, but something happens with her daughter and it kind of like makes her angry because of something that happened with her in her past, and it just was like out of left field. Like she was like, I can't have this happen to my daughter because of XYZ thing that happened to me. I just wasn't expecting them to like say it so bluntly. Like I just feel like a lot of times books will like tiptoe around a certain type of situation or like any kind of trauma. So for them to just like say out loud like, oh, because of this thing that happened to me, I'm just like, whoa, I was not expecting it. I am liking it more than I have liked some of her recent books. I can't remember if I said this already because I have been talking with one of my friends about Frida McFadden books like all day today, but her recent books, I just feel like I haven't really loved the writing in it. Like I feel like it's a little rushed, or like they do a lot of recapping, or I don't know, just something felt different about The Housemaid and Never Lie. Like those 2 books felt like there was more time spent on the books, and these last ones, I'm not even reading them like in publishing order. So it's just like the last few that I've read have just felt like they just weren't her best, or like maybe I just feel like they're starting to get repetitive. I'm not really sure. But long story short, I feel like because I've been reading this one as an audiobook, it's been more enjoyable. So that's nice. And with the Holly Jackson one, I think I've said plenty of times at this point that I've been really liking it because it's just Holly Jackson's writing is so good. And I feel like every time I read her books, it just is one of those types of books that once I pick it up, I just can't put it down. It's all I think about. I really want to continue to read it. So I'm excited that it became available on the library app. Okay, I'm gonna move you guys from here because you're very crooked. There's not really a good spot to put you guys in the bathroom, so sometimes it is what it is. But let's go get changed now that I have all my makeup off. I want to get into a sweater and then we will get to some reading. And I think we don't have any plans for the rest of tonight. So it'll be nice to just read, be lazy. Now that it's rainy and gloomy, it's just like it's the perfect reading weather. And then maybe we'll do like a walk or something like that. Yesterday I did a HIIT workout and I watched TV, but I could also do a HIIT workout and listen to more of my audiobook. So we'll just kind of see the vibe, see what we want to do. But at minimum right now, I just want to get on the couch and read and hang out with P. Hello you guys, today is, what's today's date? Today's the 1st, it's Wednesday. My mind is everywhere and I can't even remember what day it is. I just finished, on my way back home from work, I finished Dear Debbie by Frida McFadden, and unfortunately I think I'm gonna give this book 2 stars. I feel like I think the beginning of the book I really started to enjoy, but then by the time we were getting toward the end of the book, there were so many twists and turns in the book that for me just like were not the types of twists that I personally enjoy in a book. So it was really hard because I think that for people who really love Frida McFadden books, I think this one would be fantastic. I know, for example, one of my friends rated this 4 stars. I saw this one get a lot of really good ratings online, but for someone like myself, I just don't feel like I'm super into Frida McFadden right now, and I just feel like this book, the twists were just like they weren't the twists I like personally. There's different types of twists. I guess you could say that they're almost like subgenres of mystery thriller books, and I don't necessarily want to get into exactly what happened because obviously I don't want to spoil anything for you guys, but it just was not for me. So it was 2 stars, unfortunately. I did wake up early this morning and I was reading some more of Not Quite Dead Yet, and I'm almost about 35% of the way through. Let's see how much time I have left to read. Says I have 7 hours left of the book, so want to continue reading some of that. And I also was able to download a bunch of other audiobooks from the Libby app that just like happened to be available. So I wanted to tell you guys about those. Okay, so one book that I got was Told You So by Macy Neely. This is one of the Mormon wives, which is so random. I just thought it would be really interesting to read. I am intrigued because I typically really enjoy audiobooks that are autobiographies. However, I'm nervous to read this one, or intrigued, I guess. Not really nervous, just intrigued, because I am personally not a very religious person, and reading something from the viewpoint of somebody who is extremely religious, I'm curious to see how it will go. But regardless, like, I think even if I'm not a religious person, like, I read, I forget her name, but she's part of the Frankie family, the family who the mom was like a YouTuber who essentially exploited her children on YouTube, which was very sad. But her oldest daughter wrote a book, and they're also extremely religious, and I feel like I was able to sort of separate the religious pieces and still understand what she had gone through in her life. So curious to read Macy's book. Other books that I downloaded are The Mystery Guest by Nita Prose, which is the second in a series. I think there's a total of 3 books in that series, and I read the first one a while ago, and I feel like it was just like a funny, kind of goofy take on a mystery, and I enjoyed it, but I don't know that I necessarily wanted to continue. Like, I want to continue the series, but I just like never prioritized it. So I feel like this one's perfect for an audiobook. And then the last one that I downloaded was Same Time Next Summer. That one's by Annabelle Monaghan, and I feel like for the summer vibes, it's kind of perfect. I also typically really like to read romances as audiobooks because I don't always love to physically read them, or like with my eyeballs on the Kindle. So I think that one will be a good one for an audiobook as well. So all of those are due within the next, like, the Macy book is due in 15 days and the other 2 audiobooks are due in 21 days. So I feel like I have a good amount of time to try to read everything because audiobooks are just so much faster for me. So that's what I've downloaded. I'm kind of prioritizing them, so I'll read Macy Neely's book first. But since we're back home, I want to pick up Not Quite Dead Yet. I think this one has been so good so far, and I've been really enjoying it. There's a couple of times where I can't tell if the author is just being kind of like jokey with us. Like, there's a point where she mentions, for example, something about like spending money on avocado toast, and what's the other thing? There's something that she says specifically, and it's like essentially like what people say that boomers say millennials spend all their money on. And I couldn't tell if she was like joking or if she was trying to like insert internet rhetoric into her book. And I think it's that she was being jokey, and like that the character herself is being jokey. I've also noticed there's a lot more cursing, but like in times where I don't necessarily feel like it's necessary, but that's just because it's not a YA book. So it's like if someone like Pip from Good Girl's Guide to Murder was just like a little bit edgier. But I do like the way that Holly Jackson writes her characters. I just think it's hard to make any book feel the same as Good Girl's Guide to Murder, because that one was just like, that whole series I was just obsessed with. I literally could not put it down. It's not as unputdownable as that, but it's still really, really good, and I'm really enjoying it. So I want to get into some more reading right now. I want to read before Ryan gets home because I'm just like, I want to de-stress a little bit. Just like driving home stresses me out sometimes. Today was the Artemis 2 launch, which was very exciting. I got to watch a little bit of that live stream, and Ryan and my mother have been very excited and like both texting me. My mom is randomly really into space things, and Ryan works in the space industry, so it's just fun and funny to hear from both of them. But anyway, it's a big day for history, so it's very exciting. And that's very random, but that's what's happening on April 1st. And it's just funny too that it's happening today. Also, one of my friends just went into labor. Another thing that's happening today. Very funny that it's happening on April 1st of all days. Like, we honestly did not know if she was actually in labor because we thought it was an April Fool's joke. And same with the Artemis stuff. Like, I'm surprised that they scheduled it to be on April Fool's Day. But what a cool day at the same time. So it's just been a very fun day. It's very sunny now because it rained yesterday. It's so clear and so beautiful out. I think it's gonna make for such a beautiful weekend, and I'm so excited because this weekend is Easter, so we're gonna be spending time with the family and it's gonna be lovely. So anyway, those are the updates. This is just like what's happening in my life, I guess, like while we're also talking about books. So I'm going to de-stress on the couch, read some of my book, and I will update you guys when there's more things that are happening. I feel like we're discovering a lot of things right now, and it's just like getting to that point where like it's about to get really fast paced, I can tell. Hello you guys, it's Thursday today, April 2nd, and I am currently listening to I Told You So by Macy Neely. I told you guys yesterday that I was going to do some reading. I didn't do nearly as much reading as I thought I was going to. I've been really into the book that I've been reading, Not Quite Dead Yet, but for whatever reason, I think it's just coming back home from like an in-office day. I've just been like tired after work. So anyway, this morning I wanted to get into another audiobook because it's so easy for me to be able to listen to an audiobook while I'm doing a couple of like work task type things. So I started Told You So, and I think it's exactly what I thought it was going to be. I'm currently 35% of the way through, and I feel like it's mostly someone who, like, she certainly went through a lot of traumatic things. And I don't think that any of that is necessarily something that should be taken away from her by any means, but the rest of the bulk of the book, I think, really is only a book because she's Mormon, if that makes any sense. Like, all of the other things that she goes through, aside from, like, there's a lot of traumatic things, and I think that stuff is very important to talk about, or, you know, just like for people to understand, one, just in general for teenagers, also because she's Mormon, like what's going on in the community. But at the same time, the other stuff that she goes through is just typical teen things, like understanding your sexuality or partying, or I don't know, just like people starting to play around with alcohol and drugs. Like, they're very normal teen experiences, but because she's Mormon, it's sort of feels like a lot more for her, I think, from what I understand. I think like you can only know so much, right? Like, her growing up in the Mormon church, she only knows what was good and what was bad in her community, whereas like me not growing up in church didn't feel the same guilt that she did. So anyway, I just think I've been so curious about this book for long enough that I was like, I could probably read this in a day if I listen to it as an audiobook. I do like that she's the one that's actually reading it. I really enjoy when any kind of autobiography is actually read by the actual person, but I still feel like there are other books that maybe I would enjoy more. Someone else's autobiography that I'm really curious to listen to is Viola Davis. I think she also reads her own, and I've heard that it gets pretty emotional. So I'd be curious to hear her life story and everything that she's been through, because I know that she's just an amazing actress, and I'm sure that she's gone through a lot too. So anyway, that's the update on the reading for right now. I think when I get to my lunch break and things like that, I'm gonna get back to Not Quite Dead Yet. Again, I tried reading yesterday, but I was just like so out of it. And then Ryan came home and he had a bunch of things happening at work, so then we got to talking about it, and it's just hard for me to focus at that point. So sometimes I feel like reading in the mornings is what's best for me, but I don't always have time in the mornings. So I don't know. But this morning was nice because I put in the audiobook. I walked over to a new coffee shop that's nearby. It's actually like so much cheaper than I was expecting too. This is just a black coffee, but these days like a black coffee that's like maybe this size in LA is at least $4.50, and this one was only $3.50, and they filled it all the way to the top. So I'm really excited that there's actually a cheaper, good coffee shop near me, because this is also delicious. I just didn't feel like making my own coffee today, and I was able to walk pee there, and it was really fun. I really enjoyed it. Anyway, those are all the updates. I'll continue to update you as we read more, when we take our breaks, all of that. I only have one meeting today at 12:30, so I think I'll probably actually get done with this book right before that meeting, and then I'll be able to update you guys on what my thoughts are on the book once I finish it. Let's get back to listening. Okay, I basically have been in the exact same spot this whole time, and I just finished Macy Neely's book, Told You So. I don't think that this comes as a surprise, but I think I'm gonna give it 2 stars, which is very hard because I feel like normally it's difficult for me to actually rate something like a memoir or like biography or autobiography, but I think that I'm mostly doing it because I feel like the way that it was written or the way that certain things were portrayed was just not my favorite. Like, I feel like there's some things at the very end of the book that we know because we've seen the show, and how she acts on the show versus like what she's saying in the book is like, it's not that different, but different enough where it's like, okay. And then same kind of idea with like just what I was saying before, where I think a lot of her experiences feel heightened because of her experience growing up in the Mormon church. So I feel like I've just been curious about this book, but I don't know that it was necessarily written the best. I think a lot of the book was kind of written from the perspective of her as a really young kid, but also I feel like the language could have been a little bit more elevated, or she could have just spoken in a slightly different way or reflected in a different way. So I feel like it was just a little disjointed with the writing. I feel like it's not terrible, but I don't think I would necessarily recommend the book. So that's why it gets 2 stars for me. I could almost just not rate it, but I just couldn't in good conscience tell people to go read it. So that's where it gets 2 stars for me. 3 stars is like, for my brain, it kind of is this like, I didn't love it, I don't think I'll remember it, but I would still recommend it because I think that some other people would like it. But 2 stars is like, you could probably pass on it. It wasn't the best and it wasn't the worst. And 1 star is like, I hated that, if you guys were curious of how I rate books. I do have, let's see, it's 12:15ish right now. I have a meeting at 12:30. It's my only meeting of the day, and after that I'm gonna take a lunch break. So I think I want to pick up another audiobook. Another one just became available to me. So I currently have Same Time Next Summer by Annabelle Monaghan, The Mystery Guest by Nita Prose, and now A Novel Love Story by Ashley Poston just became available. So I have all those 3 available. I'm gonna wait on actually picking up an audiobook because I want to take a lunch after my meeting today, and I think during my lunch I'm gonna read my Kindle, and I'm gonna read the Holly Jackson book. I'm gonna get to a few more things before my lunch break, before my meeting and then my lunch break, and then we'll go outside and we'll read for a bit. Good morning, you guys. It is, what time is it? 6:55. It's basically 7 o'clock. I'm now on chapter 17, 45% of the way through, not quite done yet. I feel like I am back into my really bad habits of just like not spending time reading and instead doing like other things that are not actually good for my brain. Like, I watched TV for far too long yesterday, and I feel like I need to just get back into the mode of just telling myself I shouldn't be doing those things, which like, it's hard because I think sometimes it's fine and I need it because sometimes I'm just being lazy, but other times I feel like I do it and I just like can't stop, and that's when I'm like, I don't like that I do that. And reading is like my favorite hobby, so I'm like, why do I not even want to read? This is such a good book. But anyway, I accidentally had read some reviews about this book that I think maybe should have, they weren't spoilers, but I feel like maybe they should have been marked as spoilers. But I feel like I'm getting to a point where I see why that person was saying what they're saying. Basically, there's a bit of a love interest, and at the 45% mark, it like at the very beginning, it's like kind of obvious who it's gonna be, but at the 45% mark, it's like, all right, it's pretty obvious. And I just don't want to use any names because in the comment that I saw on Goodreads, they used the characters' names, and then it's just like, now I know to look for those things in that character. We're basically getting more and more people being shadier and shadier about what's happening with the murder and like why people are lying about certain things, or, you know, like I think that in most mystery thriller books, you have a few instances of people seeming like they could have done something, but then the end is when obviously everything is revealed. So we're still in that like middle phase where a lot of people seem really, really shady, and it seems like a lot of people at this point could be involved. We found her cell phone, the murder weapon, all of that kind of stuff. So we do have like some things that are now tied to the person that attacked our main character. And I just feel like the whole story is very full. Like, I love that I feel like I know who our character is. I know who her friends are. I feel like I have a good understanding of the dynamic there. The characters feel pretty three-dimensional for a mystery thriller, but it's also not too slow paced because we're not focused too much on the characters, so we're still focused in on the actual plot, trying to drive the plot, keep it going, keep it moving, all of that. So I'm really enjoying it. I have about 5.5 hours left of the book because, again, I feel like this whole week I haven't been reading as much as I thought I was going to. I obviously also spent a lot of time yesterday in the morning in particular reading Told You So. So some of my reading time was not spent on this book, but it was spent on a different book. I do want to pick up another audiobook, but I think I want to wait until I've read some more of this one because this one is like all I can think about right now. And I don't want to start straying into an audiobook, but I'm in that mood now where I don't want to do anything. I'd prefer to just take the day off and just read all day and binge this for the next 5 hours. But obviously, unfortunately, I cannot do that. So we're gonna read as much as we possibly can. It's only 7, so we do have a little bit of time before work starts. And I'll actually read on my lunch break today because I didn't read on my lunch break at all yesterday. I said I was going to, and my lunch breaks have been a little wonky where like I have been so busy before my lunch breaks that then I'm like so exhausted that I'm like, I just need to like veg out for a sec. And then after that, I just don't feel like reading. So I want to get on a good cadence, a good structure today. It's Friday and I have no meeting. So I feel like I could really get it together today. Let's get to some more reading this morning and I'll update you guys along the way. What could we feasibly get to? I feel like we could at least get to 75% of this book, like read 30% today. I feel like that feels feasible, but let's see. We'll find out by the end of the day. Good morning, you guys. I am now 62% of the way through my book, and that's purely because I got lazy again yesterday. I feel like I've just been lazy. Like, I don't know what else to say, but I'm really enjoying the book. I read a bit this morning, but I just got all of my groceries for our Easter brunch, and I'm in charge of cooking the Easter brunch this year. So I think I'm gonna turn on an audiobook just to kind of like start cooking and prepping things right now. I have a couple of other errands to run, like I need to run over to Target to grab a couple of other Easter things and stuff like that. So I think listening to an audiobook will be just kind of nice. So let's look to see which one I have. Okay, I have The Mystery Guest, Same Time Next Summer, or a novel love story. I kind of feel like I want to listen to Mystery Guest only because I know that it's kind of cozy and it's more funny, but it does have a mystery element to it. So I think I want to read that one. So I'm gonna go grab my headphones. I'm gonna put on my audiobook. This one is an 8-hour audiobook. So potentially could be done with this one again today, like I did with I Told You So or Told You So, whatever it's called. And then when I'm done cooking and done with my errands at Target, we'll get back to Not Quite Dead Yet, which I'm very excited for. So let's get the headphones and let's start Mystery Guest. And this one, I'll be continuing the series too, because I want to finish the series and I just haven't yet. So it'll be nice to kind of move forward in the series. Hello, you guys. It's been a sec since I checked in with you guys. I feel like today has been tons of prep to make sure that everything is squared away for Easter tomorrow. But I wanted to update you guys on some reading. So I'm still reading Not Quite Dead Yet. Again, it's picking up. I'm really enjoying it. I feel like I should be further along than I am for how much I keep saying that I'm enjoying it, but I think that I've just been doing so many things that it's been harder for me to just like sit down and read. And like in the mornings, I feel like I'm getting pretty distracted or I'm like doing other things, and so then I don't read as much as I think I'm going to. But I'm on chapter 25 and there's a total of like 33 chapters or something like that. I have about 3 hours left of the book, so I think I want to just like try to read right now, and then I'll probably end up finishing it tomorrow, which is always what I thought I was going to end up doing, but I always try to set stretch goals for myself. And then the other book that I've been reading is The Mystery Guest by Nita Prose, and this one I've been listening to as an audiobook. I thought I would be further along in this one, but I'm on chapter 6. I'm about 20% through the book. I thought I would get through this one a little bit faster, but what I did was I was baking earlier today and I had my headphones on, but then Ryan came home and I got selected for the raffle for LA 28 tickets, which is the Olympics coming to LA in 2028. Because I was the one that got selected, we had to do all of the ticketing on my phone. So anyway, long story short, Ryan came home from skateboarding and he ended up needing to use my phone to try to figure out the tickets that we wanted to even get and actually buy them. I just didn't feel like doing it myself. I was like, you can figure out what we want. But because of that, we ended up talking a lot about like what sports we would want to see and like how much we're willing to pay and all of that. So I inevitably had to pause the book. I have 6.5 hours left of the book, which I still think that I could do within the next, you know, like between actually mostly tomorrow tomorrow. I'm hopeful that between these two books, like basically I have 3-ish hours on each one, but this one is so much easier to just like passively do while I'm doing other things. So my plan tomorrow is wake up, do a workout, get to the final things for any of like the cooking, the baking, that kind of stuff, so that I can be ready by the time everyone's supposed to be here at 11. And then I can't imagine anyone staying longer than like 1 p.m. So then the rest of the day, we'll just get to do whatever we want. So that's my goal right now. I may or may not do my workout in the morning or just shift it to the evening depending on how late I stay up tonight, because again, I don't think that anyone's gonna stay later than like 1 or maybe 2, but then I have like the whole rest of the day to myself. Right now, I wanna read a little bit. I'm gonna do a workout after I read, and that's kind of all. I think I'll probably stay up until like 10 or 11 tonight, so I have a couple of hours, and then I'll likely have like 1 more hour to read in the morning of this book. I think that'll put me in a really good spot. So that is the update. I feel bad because I feel like I keep just popping in being like, I haven't updated you guys, and then giving you like a slew of updates. Before I set off to go read Not Quite Dead Yet, I wanted to tell you guys a little bit of what The Mystery Guest is even about. So it is kind of like this quirky novel. It's supposed to be still a bit like a mystery, but it's definitely a cozy mystery. The first book is just called The Maid, and basically it's about this woman who's a maid, and she's a little different. Like I don't know if she is, I don't want to like say the wrong thing, but I think she's on the spectrum or something, and her name is Molly. There's a murder in the hotel, and Molly doesn't understand how to read people properly, so she takes every single thing that people say to her very literally, and it kind of just like gets her into situations when it comes to this murder. It also gets her into situations with like romantic relationships and like friendships and just how she sees the world, which is very fun and funny, but also like sometimes can be like heartwarming or sad. Like there's a lot of emotion behind the book. And in the second book, I don't know what the third one actually is about, but then in the second one, I jumped into this one without knowing what the synopsis of this one would be either, but same idea. She now is the lead maid at the same hotel, and she loves her hotel. She like loves her job, everything. She brought on a new maid who's also like very quiet, very nonverbal, and there's another murder. And so now people are kind of like looking at them like, okay, now this is the second murder in the hotel. Like you have a new maid. She was the one who touched the tea. Like what's going on? And the maid that she brought on, who was the last person to touch the tea before this man died, also he's a famous person. So it's just like extra, like all eyes are on them. This woman, she's nonverbal. So she does talk, but especially in stressful situations, she just like shuts down. And even in normal situations, she just doesn't talk a lot. So now Molly is kind of like standing up for her and just kind of like trying to figure out what's happening, because she knows that she didn't do anything and she doesn't want her maid to go down for something that she potentially didn't do. But we also get some past chapters as to like how she worked with her grandmother and how she got into cleaning and that kind of thing. And I don't know how much further we'll go with those past chapters, but it is very sweet to read. I think that I read The Maid as like a physical copy, and I think that I prefer this as an audiobook right now, at least just like in the stage I am with my reading. I feel like it's really fun to hear the story, and it's a cute story and a very wholesome and heartwarming story, but I think I prefer it as the audiobook versus reading. So anyway, that is what the book is about, and I want to get back into Not Quite Dead Yet. We have so many things unraveling in this book, like so many different things I feel like we're discovering, and then right as those loose ends tie up, something else happens, and so then we're like shooting off into this direction, and we're getting closer and closer to our main character getting to the point where she's likely not going to survive, which is just really hard, honestly. It's really sad to read, because she gets to a point where she knows she has 7 days to live, essentially. And at first she's sort of joking around about things, and she is really like taking the fact that she's about to die as like she's being really humorous about it and like making death jokes and all of that. But as we get closer and closer to that like final day, she goes from not really being scared of anything at all, because she has no reason to be scared of anything, because she is about to die. So why would she be scared of dying when she knows that she literally has a death sentence? But as you get closer, it's like she's realizing all of these things because she's experiencing things that she wouldn't have done, because when you know that you have consequences, you don't do certain things. But now it feels like she's kind of living for the first time, or like expressing things to certain people for the first time, and she's getting to the point where she's just like, wait, I actually don't want to die. And it's just really sad. I have a feeling that she is going to die. Like, I don't think that this is a story where like miraculously
miraculously were able to somehow make everything okay. Like I do feel like she is going to die at the end of this book, but I'm curious to know how the author is going to write that, because I feel like there's so many different ways that you could write that, and I feel like it's going to be so interesting. So those are my thoughts so far. I'm excited to read some more, so let's get into it before we need to do our workout, and I just want to get into some more of this book. Hello you guys. Today's Sunday and it's now 4 o'clock. I haven't had a chance to update you guys, but this morning I did a bunch of reading. I'm almost done with this book. I actually purposefully left the last chapter because I really wanted to read it with you guys. And I also wanted to have something to look forward to after hosting this Easter celebration that I was hosting. The second to last chapter was just like kind of like a holy shit moment the entire time. It's been so good. I am obsessed with this book right now. I love it so much. If you guys are looking for something that's a little bit faster paced and more of like a mystery, I think this one was so good. I probably would end up giving this one a 4, or I don't do any kind of like half ratings or anything like that. So I think 4 is probably where I'll end up landing, but it all depends on how this last chapter ends. So we'll have to see. I'm about to pick it up. I just want to get through it and like learn what's going on, because like I said, that second to last chapter has just been kind of mind-boggling for me. And I'm like, I don't know what's what anymore. Like first I was jaw dropped on the floor, was like, what is happening? How is this possibly true? And then was like, okay, wait, maybe it's not true. And now we're just kind of in this like in between where like we're about to find out everything that happened in the very last chapter. And I really appreciate that the author is like kind of saving everything for the last chapter, because sometimes you'll get to like, you know, discover whatever it was that was happening in a story, but then you have like a handful of chapters left for like wrap up. And I feel like she did a lot of the wrap up before the last chapter, which was really cool. I'm loving it, if you can't tell. I don't know what would make it a 5. It just didn't give me that 5-star feeling, but I would highly recommend this to everybody because it's been so good. And then I think after that I'll probably get back to listening to my audiobook for a little bit before I pick up another book. Let's get to it and let's finish Not Quite Dead Yet. Okay, I officially finished the book and I think I am gonna end up giving it 5 stars. The way that this book ends is like so intense. I don't know, just not what I was expecting, I guess. I'm like, my jaw is like still on the floor, but it was so good. I feel like it deserves 5 stars. It still didn't like fully give me that 5-star feeling, but I feel like I was like close to tears at the end, and that's kind of hard to do in a thriller book. I feel like I'm more likely to cry at like a historical fiction novel or something like that. So to feel that way about a thriller, that was a good book. My heart was racing, like that. It was a lot. There was a point where there was something that one of our characters discovers and another character gets upset with them, and they end up kind of like resolving that whole conflict, which I was really happy about because I can understand why someone would initially be upset from like learning the information. But it's like one of those situations where like when you're a kid, you kind of like think one way, and then when you're an adult, you kind of like understand more of the nuance details behind like how people think and act and why some things might happen. So I'm glad that even though the initial reaction was to be upset, they came to really quickly because they're adults. They're like, I think the main characters are like around 27. They're adult enough to understand at this stage, but they are the people who this thing happened to. Initially, they're upset because it happened to them. I at first was a little like, oh, this feels a little childish, because sometimes like I find that with children's or like YA books, there's just like misunderstandings simply because they're a child, if that makes any sense. I'm trying so hard to be vague on purpose because I don't want to spoil any details. But anyway, I'm glad that they resolved it the way that they did. I'm also so intrigued by how she ended up tackling that last chapter. It was so good. Yeah, honestly, like I have no reason to not give it 5 stars. It was so good. I think it was fantastic. So good. I don't even know how many books we ended up reading this week. Let me check Goodreads actually. I think 4, which is kind of crazy because I feel like I have not read that many books in a really long time. Actually, we finished Dear Debbie too. So Dear Debbie, Told You So, Mistletoe Mystery, Mystery Guest, and Not Quite Dead Yet. That is a lot of books. That's 5 books this week. And I feel like I'm finally like back in the reading groove. I feel like getting back into audiobooks, because 3 of those books were audiobooks. And I feel like getting back into audiobooks has really helped. I don't know why I wasn't into it earlier this year, and I'm glad that I'm back. So I think that is going to be the end of this video. I want to quickly show you guys. Pete is falling asleep. He moved his head, or actually his whole body, and I didn't want him to fall. And so I'm holding up his head and he's like fully leaning on it because I just didn't want him to fall. But anyway, I think that is going to be the end of this video. I feel like we did a lot of reading. I've been trying to do more reading vlogs now that I'm like back into the little reading groove here. So I hope you guys have been enjoying. If there's anything that you guys think I should read, feel free to leave it in the comments below. I am also trying to get through my 26 and 26 still, so we'll see some more of those videos. And that is all I have. So thank you guys again, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye guys.